going to give you a little bit of an update of where we are at and a little bit of the changes that are happening and what the future looks like for us. This is a picture of one of our field workers, and you can see what the environment in the Ring of Fire looks like in the far north. It's flat and wet. So and that becomes important when we start to talk about what it means to work there and what it means to do in terms of protecting the environment, which is critically important to our partner community. So that's going to be a theme that I'll be talking about as we go through this. Just to give it a little bit of a reminder on the scale of the Ring of Fire, these diagrams are to scale. So on the left is the Ring of Fire, and the yellow is the claim fabric that we have in the Ring of Fire area. The gray is what belongs to other companies working in the Ring of Fire. So a very extensive claim factory. You compare that to the Sudbury Basin, which has been operating for over 100 years, and you can see the black dots are the existing mines or former mines in the Sudbury area. And that's to scale. So there's no doubt that there's a very, very substantial area that will lead to, hopefully, mines for generations to come. Now, that concept scares a lot of people because they say, oh my God, there's going to be this massive development in the Ring of Fire, and it's going to have unacceptable environmental consequences. And I think that's the secret to the development is how do you do those mines? How do you have an economic engine that will last for decades in Northern Ontario and provide that engine as Minister Peary had mentioned? So how do you balance those two factors? And I'm going to go through a little bit of what we're doing to achieve that. So over the last year or so, we've been in the process of reorganizing the ownership of Noront Resources. And that was finalized on April 7th of this year when Wyloo Metals, which is a Australian private enterprise owned by Andrew Forrest, purchased 100% of Noront. So we are no longer a public company, and we are 100% owned by Wyloo. Why did Wyloo want to buy Noront? Well, they saw the exact things that Minister Peary pointed out, that this is a region that can have major impact on the decarbonized future of the planet. It is potentially the major source of critical minerals in Ontario. So what are critical minerals? Well, the little diagram shows, what those critical minerals are and what are the key ones that we have in the Ring of Fire. And we have chromium, we have copper, and we have nickel. And I'll spend most of today talking about what the nickel deposits are and what our future is in developing those nickel deposits. So we have a deep project pipeline. Our development strategy is that our first project to develop is our Eagle's Nest nickel copper PGM deposit, and I'll be speaking about that primarily today. We aspire to take the feed from that deposit, the concentrate, and that we will use that as a foundation for developing a battery metals facility, which will produce nickel sulfate, which will feed the Ontario-based battery metals business. We have an aggressive exploration for additional nickel deposits, and I'll go through that a little bit. So we're just re-ramping that up. And that's operated by our team led by Ryan Weston, our VP of Exploration here in Thunder Bay. Following that, we intend to develop the significant chromite assets, starting with the Blackbird chromite deposit, and that'll follow with the development of the Black Thor deposit. Now, that will take a significant amount of time as we progress through those, and we do those in a responsible way. What we want to do is we want to build a ferrochrome processing plant. Right now we've targeted Sault Ste. Marie for that. That'll be a discussion for the future about where that exactly is going to be, but that's where we plan to do it right now. We believe we have a technical choice there that would represent the most environmentally friendly plant in the world for producing ferrochrome. and that would be mainly focused on the U.S. market. So critical minerals and battery metals, there's 9 of those metals, as we've shown, are found in the Ring of Fire. And I think what's very important, and we can see this with the Russian invasion of Ukraine, guaranteeing and enhancing the supply chains in North America for North American use is going to become continuously more important. And that creates an opportunity for businesses like us, and a glorious opportunity for Northern Ontario. The Eagle's Nest deposit is a high-grade deposit. It is right now we've got 11 million tons of proven and probable reserves, and an inferred resource of about another 9 million. So we believe we have a 20-year mine life for this deposit at 1 million tons a year out of mining rate. That will produce about 15,000 tons of nickel in concentrate and almost 9,000 tons of copper per year from that deposit, which is a significant scale of mine. Anybody that is familiar with the Sudbury area will know that the Nickel Rim mine, which is the flagship mine for Glencore in Sudbury, is about the same size as what we're proposing here. The other element that this has is very, very significant platinum and palladium grades. In fact, the platinum and palladium grades are higher in Eagle's Nest than the primary, than the Lac des Îles mine totally. So this is a very, very, very substantial deposit, high-grade deposit that will have a very, very significant impact on the economy of Ontario. The mine, we did a feasibility study that we completed in 2012, and we're in the process of updating that feasibility study now. We intend to produce about 1 million tons a year, or 3,000 tons per day, with the mine underground, 100% underground. What's novel about this is we took 2 problems. One is what to do with tailings and where to store tailings. And traditionally, tailings that don't go back into the mining area are stored on surface in a tailings pond. You saw what the geography looked like. That's challenging both technically and environmentally to store those tailings. The other challenge we have is a lack of aggregate that we can use for construction, and we believe we can combine those 2 problems by having an underground quarry, which will ultimately mine over 3 million tons of aggregate for use for our construction purposes and for the roads that will be developed by the communities of Martin Falls and Webequie. And we can use that construction material for a great purpose, and then use the void created by that construction material to place the additional tailings. So what that allows us to do is have no tailings facilities on surface. All the tailings will be returned back underground. We'll have a concentrator on surface, which will take the 1 million tons of ore and turn that into about 150,000 tons of concentrate. And some of that concentrate will be sold to existing smelters, and some will be used hopefully for the development of our battery metals plant. One of the things, and we'll go through, we have a net zero greenhouse gas approach. So we're looking at how to work with the road proponents and the province to get power line in for green power. We're looking at interim plans for wind, and we're doing a wind study right now, trying to understand what the wind resource is, and potentially use hydrogen for use both for our trucking fleets to move the material from the Ring of Fire to the railhead. And we're very focused on using only electric vehicles underground, which is a great opportunity. One of the key items that's very important to us is, with the first development, is minimal disturbance. And minimal disturbance is that making the footprint as small as possible and minimizing the additional disturbance for what already exists. So if you look at on the left is a rendering drawing of what we think the mine will look like, and that mine fits on the already disturbed area in the Ring of Fire, which we have where we have our exploration camp now. So the additional disturbance for developing this mine is very small, less than 1 square kilometer. That's the total, not the additional. Just to give you some sense, the Ring of Fire area is 65,000 square kilometers. So that would be basically if you drew a box around the Ring of Fire claims that I showed you at the start, that would represent about 65,000 square kilometers. The far north, which is the area above the red line, and in the diagram on the right, that's a little over 400,000 square kilometers. So, the first mine will disturb 1 square kilometer of 400,000 square kilometers in the Ring of Fire, in the region. So I think there's a lot of people who misunderstand the degree of disturbance that the mining program will result in, and have exaggerated it numerous times in different forms. So we're trying to clarify that. We want to do this responsibly. We want to do it with the minimal disturbance, and the Blackbird deposit will also be done by fitting into this footprint. So there'll be no additional disturbance. The other area of disturbance we have is potentially on exploration. We have some disturbance, but we have minimal impact by how we do it, and rehabilitate all the areas that we've disturbed over time. So the actual impact at the end of the day is very, very small. With Wyloo, they've made a number of commitments that that will be guiding principles for us on how we do our development. The first is developing Eagle's Nest as a net zero emissions mine. That's challenging. There's no doubt about it, because some of the right now we're remote. We don't have a power source other than diesel, just like the communities. So that's going to be an important element. 2, committing $25 million towards investigating the potential for battery metal production in Ontario, utilizing the Eagle's Nest concentrate as a base. Number 3, targeting $100 million of contracts awards to the First Nations as we from the process of building the Eagle's Nest project, and creating and sustaining a Northern Ontario First Nations employment framework so that we maximize the employment of our First Nations communities in the area. I won't go into this very much. We saw some other presentations. I wasn't sure exactly what they would talk about, but this is a very important piece of work for us. It's very important because it's groundbreaking for the partner communities that we have, and we're very proud to support them both technically and any other way we can to assist them in the development. And I think we've proven that over since some of this work was formed in 2018. One thing that is our objective is as this takes more shape and it's understood how it's going to get built, our plan is to develop the Eagle's Nest mine in parallel to the development of the road, so that we integrate the opportunities for construction, supply of aggregates, and building, and minimize the time to get our first critical minerals mine to market. We've got a great opportunity, and the minister mentioned it. If you look at, with the demand picture for electric vehicles, the current nickel market is about 2 million tons of nickel that goes into supply, mainly stainless steel, in the world. So we expect the demand for electric vehicles to increase that by 1 million tons by 2028. So that is a 50% increase in the amount of nickel that needs to be supplied from mining operations. There's a similar story with respect to copper demand. And we believe that, Eagle's Nest can provide, enough nickel for 400,000 electric vehicle batteries every year through its mine life. The challenge is that on the diagram on the right shows the difference between the blue line and the red line. I don't know what colors those are on the diagram. There's a gap. So the world needs new mines. It's a glorious opportunity for us to be leaders in supplying those mines. And I'm going to talk a little bit around what the competition is for supplying those mines and why we should be concerned about it. The green bars are the current forecast for that gap of the required nickel for supply of batteries. So we're seeing a constant increase in the deficit to supply electric vehicle batteries. The best way to supply electric vehicle batteries is from mines like Eagle's Nest. It's the most economic, and it's the most environmentally friendly way to do it. The challenge is it's not going fast enough. So what's happening is that the sources for nickel over time will become places like Indonesia, and what they'll do, which is not nearly as environmentally friendly, and but they get there much quicker. And I think that's the challenge for us here in Ontario, is that how do we get these projects done responsibly and more expeditiously? It's a challenge for us. You know, just recently the Indonesian government announced new projects to supply electric vehicle batteries at 295,000 tons per year. So that's 40 Eagle's Nests. And they just made that announcement, and those went from 0 to in construction in 2 years. Not that we're going to get there in 2 years, but it just shows you we need to do whatever we can by working together to get our products, our most responsible products, to this market and not miss this opportunity. The other thing that we've got in the ring of, and we've talked about the numerous critical minerals we already have, and this just gives you a diagram of the geology of the Ring of Fire and the different deposits that we've found that will help supply the critical minerals. But what's more important is what we're doing right now, and that is the continued prospectivity we have. We've identified over 70 nickel targets in the Ring of Fire area that we're following up on. We're in the process of rebuilding our exploration program, updating our camp. We intend to spend over $10 million per year on our exploration program in the Ring of Fire. And that, we hope, will be a perpetual program. So, and Ryan guarantees me that there's going to be new deposits found so that we can increase our pipeline of nickel deposits. So, you know, we've got a strong focus, we've got an excellent team, and we fully expect to find other initial nickel deposits which will extend the life. Nickel deposits around the world tend to occur in clusters. You look in Sudbury, that's exactly what happened. You look in Russia, that's what's happened. You look in northern Quebec, that's what happened. The deposits occur in clusters. We believe that's the case here. They're just challenging to find because of the remoteness and the cover that's over the geology, the peat and water that's over top. So it's a technically challenging thing. We believe they're there, and we believe our team's going to go and find them. The other thing none of this is possible without excellent performance and protection of people in the environment. So one of the key things for us, and I just wanted to talk about our health and safety performance, which is very, very important to us. You know, we've operated our program in the Ring of Fire since we started in 2015. You know, we've had numerous years with 0 lost time injuries and extended periods with no reportable injuries. So this is very, very important to us. And we want to make sure that anybody that works for us is certain that they're not going to get hurt at work and want to participate in a culture that assures it. I think we've heard a lot about the social license. So, you know, we believe that the key to the Ring of Fire is working with our partner community so that, you know, we can get this done in a cooperative way and work together with the communities. It's been very important to us as a demonstration of that since our exploration program started over the last 5 years or so. 65% of our exploration employees have come from the First Nation communities, and we continue with that to be one of our most important things as we staff our and we want to continue that into the development process. So that's very, very important to us. And these are just some of the signs. There's the chief in one of the pictures here on the left. I don't know if you can recognize him there on the Chief Wabas. And some of the elders from Webequie and Martin Falls in the center. Sorry, it's not a little bit more clear. And then some of our community employees at a job fair. So this is a very, very important element in both our approach as a company and how we expect to move things forward in an effective way. And then I showed you the first picture, which was in the summer, and now you can see what it looks like in the winter. So now lots of snow, but still pretty flat. And so what we do is we use one of the lakes there, Cooper Lake, as our airstrip. So we land on the water in the summer, and we make a nice runway in the winter. And there's a plane which carries fuel, then we use to bring fuel into the site. So that's my presentation for today, and thank you very much.